The Paradox of Choice, Why More is Less, How the Culture of Abundance Robs Us of Satisfaction, by Barry Schwartz. Chapter 2, New Choices. Filtering out the extraneous information in one of the basic functions of consciousness. If everything available to our senses demanded our attention at all times, we wouldn't be able to get through the day. Much of human progress has involved reducing the time and energy, as well as the number of processes we have to engage in and think about. For each of us to obtain the necessary necessities of life. We move from foraging and subsistence agriculture to develop of crafts and trade. As culture advanced, not every individual had to focus every bit of energy every day on filling his belly. One could specialize in a certain skill and then trade the products of that skill for other goods. Eons later, manufacturers and merchants made life simpler still. Individuals could simply purchase food and clothing and household items. Often, until very recently, at the same general store, the variety of offerings was meager, but the time spent producing them was minimal as well. In the past few decades, through a long process of simplifying and bundling economic offerings has been reversed, increasingly the trend moves back toward time-consuming foraging behavior. As each of us forced to sit for ourselves through more and more options in almost every aspect of life. Choosing utilities. Not that long ago, all utilities were regulated monopolies. Consumer didn't have to make decisions about who was going to provide telephone or electric services. Then came breaking up of Mabel. What followed in was a set of options that has grown, over time, into a dizzying array. We face many different possible long-distance providers, each offering many different possible plans. We now even face choice among local telephone service providers. And then cell phone revolution has given us the choice of cell phone service providers, multiplying options yet again. I get about 2 solicitations a week from companies that want to help me make my calls, texts, and web serves. And we are all assaulted daily with broadcast, digital, and print advertisings. Phone service has become a decision to weigh and contemplate. The same thing has begun to happen with electric power. Companies are now competing for our business in many parts of the country. Again, we are forced to educate ourselves, so what's the decision we make will be informed. I'm not suggesting, by the way, that the regulation and competition in the telephone and power industries are bad things. Many experts suggest that in the case of phone service, the regulation brought improved service at lower price. With electric power, the jury is still out. In some places, the introduction of choice and competition has gone smoothly. In other places, it had been rough, with the spotty service and increased prices. But even we assume that the kinks will be worked out eventually and competitive electric power provision will benefit consumers. The fact remains that it's another choice we have to make. In discussing the introduction of electric power competition in New York, Edward A. Smeloff, a utility industry expert, said, "In the past, we trusted that the state regulators who were appointed by our elected officials were watching out for us, which may or may not have been true. The new model is, figure it out yourself. Is this good news or not? According to a survey conducted by Yanchenko-Lovich Partners, a majority of people wanted more control over the details of their lives, but majority of people also want to simplify their lives. There you have it, the paradox of our times. As evidence of this conflicting desire, it turns out that many people, though happy about the availability of telephone choices or electric choices, don't really make them. They stick with what they already have without even investigating alternatives. Most folks don't even shop around for calling plans with their phone company. In Philadelphia, with the arrival of electric competition, only an estimated 15% of consumers shop for better deals. You might think that there's no harm in this, that consumers are just making a sensible choice not to worry. But the problem is that the state regulators aren't there anymore to make sure consumers don't get ripped off. In an era of deregulation, even if you keep what you always had, you may end up paying substantially more for the same or worse service. The paradox of choice. Why more is less? How the culture of abundance robs us of satisfaction. By Barry Schwartz.